Well, great. And so I'll know when people join because I'll see their videos. Is that how I'm going to know? Or they're at the bottom, like a normal video?
Yes, you'll see the number of participants going up.
All right. Where will I see the number of participants going up? Is there anybody else here?
Yes, you have about 10 participants. They're still coming in.
Great.
It's at actually the bottom of your Zoom button next to start video.
Oh, you mean the participant button itself. Okay, I wasn't sure if I was going to see people's videos. There we
You'll
go.
be able to see them now.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. Glad to see everybody here. I did put some poll options in the session, but in the chat, preferably in the, well, I think in the Pathable system chat, if you want to introduce yourself, say hello, tell me where you're from, which co-op. I'd love to see that. And just Sally, I am not seeing, let me just see here. I'm not seeing the chat. So everybody bear with me for just a second as I get used to the live parts of this. Hopefully everybody's had a great day. I will say I was thinking about Gem City this morning. I can imagine it was pretty exciting to watch them open their doors. Been very interested in their entire process. All right, and so proud of them. Oh, there we go. Now I'm seeing all the messages. Thank you. Okay, so this is fun. This is really fun. I'm very familiar with Zoom, but I get to do something new. So I get to create new neural pathways today as I learn how to do this. So I'm going to give people just a minute to get started, but thanks for introducing yourself in the Pathable chat. Hi, Kevin and Ricky, Wild Onion, Hunger Mountain Co-op, and Seven Roots, we know and love. Welcome, Mary. Free Range, great. Becky, wonderful. Patty from Mad River. I see that some of the sessions from earlier maybe we're still even going on a little bit. So I'm guessing we'll get lots of people hopping in as we get started. Hey, Sue. Fellow Californian.
Which Sue?
Oh.
Hello.
That's hilarious. Apparently my computer loved it when I said your name, Sue. My laptop seems to have renamed herself Sue. Okay, so I think, is it this point, Deb, would you think we just get started, or how long have people been waiting before they get started, just chatting?
It's up to you. You can give them a couple more minutes, or you can go ahead and get started.
Great, I'll give people a couple more minutes. Did anybody watch the live ribbon cutting for Gem City this morning? I can't wait to get a great tour of our store. It's been pretty exciting sharing the process, I know, with our co-op, with our social media following. I had some great videos about how they were, their product mix on the shelves and their pricing. And I think all of that was just, we're doing a really great job with introducing people to the co-op and getting them used to shopping there and what to expect in advance. I thought that was great. I'm excited today to talk about cooking classes and how we've used them. In the poll area, I've added a few things. I don't know if you've used any polls, but if anybody here has offered cooking classes, feel free. You can answer the poll or you can put it in the chat. I'd love to know if anybody's done them, and if you did, what kind of cooking class you did, how you felt about that. And I also added a poll in there. If you were going to attend a cooking class, what kind of class would you want to attend? But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and that'll give us plenty of time for discussion later. And as people hop in, they can kind of catch themselves up. So I'm going to start with introducing myself. I'm Shannon Ratliff. I'm with Suncoast Market Co-op. We're in Imperial Beach, California. So we are opening the second co-op in San Diego County. We're just south of San Diego County. And I am the outreach manager for the co-op. I do that about 10 hours a week right now. With COVID, we reduced that. Previously, it was about 20 hours a week. And I'm also on the board of directors. I'm the vice president on the board. And this is exciting to be here presenting to you for Up and Coming. It's such an invaluable opportunity to learn from each other and hear about what's working well for other co-ops and get some lessons learned. So this is really my favorite time of year as a co-op, is each year as we've gone through this, we're always in a different stage. And so it feels like it's completely new, but we get to see these familiar faces. So I love seeing familiar names here today too. So I'm going to get started with just telling you a little bit about what we're going to do today. So we are going to be covering benefits of cooking classes for ownership growth, how we use them here at Suncoast, and we're going to talk about themes for classes, topics, and why using that model really works. And I'm going to make sure I go through a lot of the logistics of how to do them. They're not hard, but there are definitely some details that I want to make sure everybody's familiar with. And then we'll have plenty of time for discussion as we go through it. So just to make sure everybody, you're seeing my presentation on the screen. If you're not, let me know. So a little bit about Suncoast. We're located in Imperial Beach, California. And just for anybody that's not familiar with that, Imperial Beach is a very small beach community in Southern California. We are located, if you can look on this map here, where that arrow is pointing, we're right on the border of Mexico, right at Tijuana, where I think from my window here, it's maybe about, as the crow flies, about 2 miles from here to the border from my house. And so we're a small town, about 27,000 people, a little bit more than that, just 4 square miles total for Imperial Beach itself. 69% of our community members are BIPOC, with 52% Latino, Latinx people. So beyond that, we're also a military town. We have a Navy SEALs training facility here, as well as a Navy helicopter base. So we have quite a mix of people, and a high renter population, and again, high military population. So we do see a lot of people moving in and out of town. Another important thing to know as I'm talking today is that nearly 1 in 3 children in Imperial Beach live in poverty. And so, I think that creates some unique opportunities for us, but it does also guide some of the things that we do with our cooking classes that I think might be useful to share with you today. We are a food desert, but we are definitely a food swamp. We have several 7-Elevens. We have a discount grocery store, and we have a small Mexican market in town. And so those are our grocery options here. We have a dollar store that doesn't sell any fresh food, but it does sell some canned foods. And so our co-op is definitely opening to provide full service grocery shopping to increase access to healthy foods and make it easier for people to buy all the groceries close to home. There's one other co-op in San Diego County, that's People's Food Co-op. They've been open nearly 50 years in Ocean Beach. And so it's definitely quite a distance from here. Most people in Imperial Beach, or what we call ourselves down here is the South Bay area, are not shopping at that co-op. It would be quite a long distance to shop. The other unique thing about that co-op is it is a 100% vegetarian co-op, and they're a certified organic food handling co-op. So they're definitely meeting a very unique need in the area where they're located in Ocean Beach. But for a lot of our community, that doesn't quite hit the mark for them. So what we're really excited about is that we're providing another co-op option so that people can get more exposure to the co-op model in a couple of different ways, depending on where they're at with their shopping habits. All right, so one of the biggest challenges we have, because there is only one other co-op in San Diego County and most people in the South Bay are not familiar with it or have never been there, is that a lot of people think we're a scam. And so there is a history of mistrust in our community. There's, a long just general history and fear of gentrification. There's a lot of false promises that have been made over the years. And so for that reason, when we talk about the co-op and the investing in a co-op to build something great for our community, a lot of people are very skeptical. We've been asked if we're a pyramid scheme, a scam, why are we taking people's money? You took my $200, I don't have a store. These are real concerns that we get. So it creates definitely some challenges for us as we try to educate people about all of the amazing parts about a co-op and why people would want to invest, why you want to be involved early. But the fact that we don't have a physical store definitely makes people leery. And so for that reason, we have found that cooking classes really work for us. So cooking classes for us have helped to build trust before the store opens. So it gives us a physical presence involving food with real people, real conversations, strong community feel, so that people do develop a sense of trust and realize that we aren't a scam, we are doing something. The other thing it does for us is provides health education. Since we are located on the border, we do not get a lot of health education services. We are very much overlooked when it comes to public health services in our area. One, because we're a small town. Two, because of our location. And three, I think just general issues of racism. So there's really, the cards are stacked against many members of our community. And so the co-op has served as a really important community partner to bring in a lot of these larger organizations to show and fight for people that there is a strong need here. We do have some of the highest rates of food-related illness in the county. So it's really important. And as I said, 1 in 3 children here are living in poverty. So providing cooking classes and other services is really providing a huge service to our community while helping us to talk about the co-op and empower people in our community. So it does grow ownership. I will give a caveat that our ownership growth is definitely seen more tangibly in person. Over the last year and a half, we've moved virtually. And so for that reason, we've actually been meeting another need, which is connection, community, trust building, keeping ourselves relevant. But when we're in person, it does also give tangible ownership growth results. Co-ops have widened our audience significantly. So, again, we're new. So signs about the co-op expose people, but it's still confusing. People don't understand what a co-op really means. But when we're doing cooking classes, people are not hesitant to sign up for a cooking class. They find it simple to understand, easy. They sign up, they come, and we teach them about the co-op. So we're really reaching a wider audience than we would at a tabling event or through some of our social media channels or things like that. Another really great thing is that we do get owner referrals. So owners hear about our cooking classes. We provide, and I'll talk about this more, incentives to bring a non-owner friend. So again, we're just getting exposure to a new audience, widening things through owner referrals. They're also just fun and a way to be really creative. But because we have stuck with these cooking classes over the last 2 or 3 years, what we're really getting is a consistent framework that we can play around within. So we're not having to reinvent the wheel. We're not creating a large event every single time. We're just plug and play at this point with this framework that we have. So we can it looks fun, creative, it looks easy, it feels really exciting to anybody that attends because we've really done the groundwork already to figure out how to make it happen. Oh, great. So I love the questions in the comment. I'm going to get to that too. One other thing that cooking classes work really well for us for is helping to shape shopping habits now. So you would think in California that there'd just be an abundance of farmers markets and fresh foods and locally grown foods and all of these things. And while those things exist, the access to them is a huge problem. In fact, that's what drove me to enthusiastically join the co-op when we moved here, was that I found it really difficult to find healthy, organic, locally grown foods. And so it's not the norm. In fact, the norm for a lot of people that I find is looking for discount grocery stores. So the store we have here is called Grocery Outlet. There's Smart and Final, everything is really discount named, and that really drives a lot of shopping habits. And so to open a co-op where we know it's going to be difficult to be competitive on the prices around a discount shopping store, we need to really understand and accept that we need to change shopping habits. We need people to understand the value of local, the value of purchasing from a co-op itself. And we can do that through the cooking classes and the education around those different products and farms and things we provide. And so for that reason, I think what we're doing is we're sort of priming the pump for people to know what to expect when they come to the store. Just that's a little bit of background. It started for us, we've done a lot of different things to try to address these issues. We've done food competitions like muffin baking competitions, pie baking competitions, things like that within some of our other events. And they were okay, but they weren't really getting us anybody new. It was just kind of the same people all the time. We do hold a lot of monthly events, and let's talk about this as like pre-COVID times, but we hold consistent eat and greets in local restaurants where we provide food, talk about the co-op. We do coffee talks, we do happy hours. We're a very much event-driven co-op because we see the results when we're in person, face-to-face, being able to address those hesitations around us being a potential scam. We just needed to find more ways to get people in the door for these in-person events. And so educating on local food has sort of become a really important priority, whether it's local food served at restaurants, whether it's local food grown on farms, whether it's locally produced foods and products that people are making locally. That's something that we've focused on because that's really going to be unique to our co-op. That's something that you cannot find in any other store. And again, changing those shopping habits now is really critical for our long-term success. I already mentioned that we have high rates of food-related illness and that we're an underserved population. So that's sort of what drove us to this cooking class model. We've done, I was trying to really count, we've done at least 20 different events to date. And then we've done some sort of cooking class adjacent things that I'll talk about here in a minute. So there are some steps that I want to give you to get you cooking for your co-op. And so it's 3 different stages in the process. The first stage is really figuring out the type of class that you want and finding instructors or chefs to do that. And so it's, I don't know which is the chicken and the egg approach to doing this, if you want to find a chef and instructor first, or if you want to set a theme. And I'm going to go through a lot of different themes and how we got there here through the presentation. But this is really where it starts. And the other thing is finding a location. So I'll show you some of the locations that we've used and where we've gotten creative and had success. and ways to develop partnerships that really benefit you. And again, affordability is a priority for us because of our community. So we want to keep things free or very low cost as much as we possibly can. So partnerships have allowed us to do that and have had great benefit for us as we enter into our fundraising season. And then there's a lot of details that you'll need to figure out around who's going to buy the food or who's going to purchase that and prep it. Is it the instructor? Is it the co-op? So I'll, again, talk about how we've done a little bit of both for different events. The second stage is the marketing and registration process. So marketing is really important because, again, for us, we're using cooking classes to reach a new audience. Although we do get owners participating, and that's fantastic because, again, changing shopping habits is important. We also want to make sure we're getting new owners along the way. So finding ways to reach new audiences is important. And I'll talk about how we've done that along with registration systems, setting your class size and your pricing. On the class day, I'll talk about it a little bit as sort of managed chaos. It's a lot of fun, but there's definitely the planning that you put into it pays off later. So one thing that is required to do cooking classes that you do need to have volunteers that are willing to show up and help and be engaged, because there's sort of a lot of things that are going on. And I'll talk about the details there. Signage and checking in people at the event. We always do a co-op pitch at the event itself. And we highlight some type of local foods, products, producers, things that we're likely to sell in the store. So we have to weave that into the class. And so we work with the instructor and chef on that. Making sure that you're getting lots of photos, and you're going to see, because that's all my presentation is from this point forward, is photos, and having a strong follow-up process on social media and with attendees themselves. So again, you're turning this event into an ownership growth strategy when you're doing that follow-up along the way. So that's the basis of where I'm going to go here as I go through a lot of photos of events. I'm going to point out how we do these things. But for you, this checklist might be helpful to have in hand if you decide to do cooking classes for your co-op. So I'm going to start with talking about themes and finding in chefs or instructors. And for us, how we've done this is leverage existing opportunities and connections that we've had. So it makes it advantageous all around, helps us to keep things affordable, and also helps us to reach a wide audience. So I'll start with one class that we did. We leveraged popular local restaurants. So we have a local Thai restaurant that's fun, it's fresh, it's adorable. The owner, their co-op members, and their restaurant is just, it's just a really fun, welcoming place. Kate here is the owner, and she just is really excited about the co-op model. And she also wants to advertise her business. And so we partner together and we offered a cooking class. So she was able to teach a few of her most popular dishes to people. And so the win-win on this one was that she was advertising to the people we brought to the class. And then we were also getting her audience. So she was, bringing in new people to the co-op that wanted to learn how to cook her food. So she brought in her chef to do it. And so they both worked together to provide the class. And it was really a very well attended class, very exciting, very delicious class. And she prepared several dishes in large amounts, and people were able to really get a full meal out of this class, but it was not interactive. They were not cutting food and doing it. So this was more of a demo. So that's one option when you're doing it, is just teaching people how to do it in a demo, and then they get to taste the food. But here, I think the big win is that you're reaching new audiences, and it's their own audience, and they're doing half of the marketing for you. Another thing we do is establish new partnerships with different organizations, like-minded organizations, people that really are also out there wanting to provide health education services to people, cooking classes. We think hitching your wagon to these types of organizations is just smart because, again, we're coming into fundraising season, and so we need to have the widest possible audience that we can, that of people that will potentially want to help us through donations down the road, foundations, these kinds of things. So one of those organizations is the Chef de Cuisine Education Foundation in here in San Diego. So Chef de Cuisine Association is nationwide. There's a local chapter here, and they have an education foundation. That foundation is dedicated to providing cooking classes, healthy cooking classes. And so they're working with teens, and they were doing that in person. During COVID, they got connected to us through another owner as they wanted to go virtual. They knew that we had some experience here, and so they asked us to help. And so now we have a strong partnership with them. And you can see here in the image on the left what they're doing. They provide cooking videos to our local school district, our middle and high school students. They're part of an 8-part series, and Suncoast helps with the I have a health education background, so I help with some of the materials there, but also Suncoast volunteers to do the packaging and distribution of recipe ingredients. So this is a completely free program where students are getting every other week a bag of recipe ingredients, and they're paired with a virtual class, a video. And as a school cooking club, they participate together to prepare those recipes. So the win-win here is that we didn't actually have to produce the videos or the cooking class, but we are getting exposure. There's 100 students that are involved in this program. So it was really, we're able to partner with an organization that really believes firmly the same things that we do, providing education to local students, getting exposure to 100 new families in our community, and then also being able to participate in their ongoing events and their own fundraising opportunities to introduce ourselves to potential donors down the road. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see this is, you can see a video camera in the background here. That's because one of our classes was a taco making class. This was in partnership with a local organization that does a number of really great programs, but gardening and cooking. They have what's called a Kitchenista program, and the Kitchenistas are trained to create traditional recipes in healthy ways. And so they go through an extensive training program to do that. And then they go out into their community to teach those classes. The organization is Olivewood Gardens. And their program is Kitchenistas. In fact, they did a movie. They've done 2 movies that were on PBS. And so they filmed part of one of those films that was just released in March at one of our classes. And so that partnership, as you can just imagine, created a really great opportunity for our co-op to get exposure. And for us to expose our owners and attendees to another organization that's really trying to make an impact. So we think it's just it's a win-win, especially if you're really focused on changing the food system. These partnerships are fantastic. They bring in owners because you're also connecting to a well-established audience. Again, if trust is an issue in your community with your co-op, hitching your wagon to a well-known and trusted organization also is beneficial. Then, oh good, Gem City, sorry, I just saw. Welcome, Rachel, congratulations. We are so excited today. We were trying to talk about you at the very beginning today and your grand opening. So glad you're here. All right, so I told you, we are working with local teams for the cooking class. But in general, really over COVID times, we have done a lot of kids cooking programs. So this follows the adage of where the cubs go, the mamas go. And so by providing kids classes, we are providing something that people are excited about. They need something for their kids to do. People are feeling isolated. Parents need a little bit of a break. And I say little lightly, having 2 children myself, finding things for them to do is just, it was hard for a while there. And so by providing kids cooking classes, we were getting FaceTime with the parents as well. So we were really fortunate to be able to offer a couple of cooking classes so far, with more to come, through a local donor here in Imperial Beach who really likes this farm called the Ecology Center, and they're a regenerative educational farm. Maybe educational regenerative farm. Either way, they are doing some really great work around farm education. But part of what they do, in addition to growing and selling their food at a farm stand, they also do a quarterly box of produce. It's a recipe kit for kids. So people would purchase it. I think it's like generally $35. They purchase it for their kids, and then they take it home, and there's an activity booklet, and the kids prepare the recipes. It's not anywhere near our area. It's quite a bit north in Orange County. And it's probably, the price point's a little high for our community. So one of our community members purchased 100 boxes for local kids and donated that through the Ecology Center. The problem is the Ecology Center isn't in our area, right? And so they don't have a way to identify 100 lower income families to get these free boxes to. And so we were connected with them as a group to do that because of our produce box program that we did at the beginning of COVID. We've got a pretty good system for this kind of distribution. So we get 100 boxes, and we went about finding 100 families, and they did a drive-through pickup of this box. And because we're Suncoast Market and we don't do things small, we thought, what would be really great is if we could turn this into a cooking class. And well, not just a cooking class. How about if we do it as a live interactive cook along? And how about if we, pre-record this video? And how about if we partner with this well-known foodie? I mean, so we took this box program for kids and turned it into something pretty fun. I'll show you more about that actually here in a little bit. But you can see this class was virtual. So on the left here, you can see Christina. She's cooking with 3 kids, the ingredients for the box. And so this is in a home kitchen. So one of our board members has a beautiful kitchen, and we just set up a camera in there, and she cooked, and we did a cook along with that. We pre-recorded this one because we wanted to make sure we could have option for our Spanish speaking community members. We pre-recorded it and were able to subtitle that. So then when parents came and picked up their box, they had access to the live interactive cook along where we screened the video that we pre-recorded in a live session. And so we cooked just like this. It was a webinar. I was on camera. I was screening the cook along. We were pausing it. We were talking about local farms. We were talking about all these great things. And you can see one of our participants here. This was her stirring the soup that she made. It was really pretty great. So kids cooking classes have become something that we've done now several times. They're a huge hit and have exposed us to a lot of people that may not have heard about the co-op otherwise. And I'm going to come back to a little bit more detail on that class in a minute on pre-record when I talk about some pre-recorded things. But another theme that we've gone and taken on is just some different trends. So the one on the left was before we knew about COVID, but it was flu season. And so there was some questions on some local Facebook groups about elderberry syrup. And people talked about fire cider. And so we called on someone that we knew from a local organization that does a lot of just interesting classes, and asked her if she'd be willing to do an herbal remedy workshop. So people came and they prepared elderberry syrup and fire cider. And this was done at a local church. This one was a $20 class that we had. It was a donation-based class with a $20 suggested donation. And then on the right, we did sauerkraut and pickles. That's always just something that people like to do, and it's very easy to do with a group. And it's hard to mess up. So in a group setting, so for that reason, it worked out really well. We're also using co-op owners as our instructors, so that was fun. I just circled here that class was $20 because we had to purchase supplies, the jars, things like that. People were going home with their items. So it was $20 and owners got a discount. So I'm going to point out some of those pricing things along the way so you can see how we have quite a bit of variability. So again, with the trends, we jumped on the charcuterie board bandwagon and did a large class with that. So we highlighted local foods, local specialty shops, and we had someone come in, and we did this one with, I can't remember exactly the number, maybe 6 or 7 different groups of participants, and they each got a board, and we had a large spread of charcuterie items, and they made pickles and things like that in the class. And then it was spread out, and each group had to put together their own charcuterie board based on the lesson that was given around how to place items, how to make it decorative, how to make sure you're getting the best possible taste. So they were given this instructional class, made pickles, and then they each competed to put together charcuterie boards. And so you can see the 2 pictures on the left here are people showing off the boards that they made. So that was really, really fun. And the other thing we did on the right-hand side, this weekend we did 2. We did the charcuterie board class, and we did Mediterranean bowls. So, just different nourish bowls. We're out there heavy on Pinterest. And so we did one in a local church, and people got to make their own bowls, put those together and show those off. I have a number of pictures of those because that was a great photo opportunity. And so you can see the Mediterranean bowl class was only $5. The church that we worked with has a budget for community classes. And so we come in, we bring in, people into their large fellowship hall space, and we've done some classes there. And they supplement the budget. So we only needed to charge $5 for that class. And then on the right, the charcuterie class was $25, and it did have a drink pairing. The facility, the kitchen that we use, the owner loves wine, and so she loves to serve wine. She lets us use her space for free. She's an owner in the co-op, and she provides wine for it. So that allows us to, it's a pretty great value for the classes that they get. Another great strategy that we have found is to feature prominent local foodies. So whether these are chefs or people that are just known in the community. So on the left, you'll see this is Chef Christina again. We've used her. She's an amazing local chef who is heavily embedded in the local food scene. So that's her area of passion. She works with a couple of large foundations, organizations here in San Diego. And so she's very well connected to really everybody. And she's well loved, well liked, and she's a lot of fun. So she did a plant-based side dish class for Thanksgiving for us a couple of years ago. And so she came in and provided a tasting menu for a number of different items. And she was able to do this free of charge. So all she asks for when she does it is they're using foundation funds for the class. And then people can make donations and it goes back to the foundation. So she's with what's called the Very Good Food Foundation that's located here in San Diego. And so it works out really well for us. This is, again, a win-win on the partnership side. It's also a huge win because she has a large following of people. And again, she knows everybody. She loves Suncoast Market and the work that is being done. She's a huge advocate for this work. And she loves to social media share. So this is what happens when you can find some prominent local people in your community. They're just doing half the marketing work for you, exposing you to new audiences, getting your name out there. So it really helps us with name recognition. Again, we're in this tiny little town on the border in all of San Diego. So getting the word out about what we're doing, we'll take anything that we can get. And she's a great partner for that. Plus, she's just absolutely adorable. She does our kids cooking because she works really well with kids as well. On the right, in the top, we did a farmer's market brunch. So we had a local CSA box. We were doing, this was actually a local produce box that was being done by curated from a number of local farms, and we were distributing that early in COVID. And she did a farmer's market brunch with it. So she put together recipes for that box so people could purchase the box. We had some donated boxes, and then she taught a lesson on making brunch. I believe it was Father's Day time, and she was able to do that. She works with the Olivewood Gardens Foundation I mentioned earlier. And she's also just well known for her fermentation skills. So again, great audience that she has, and she's, draws people in because of her work in the community. And at the bottom, this event was canceled, but because of COVID, it happened to be, you can see March 28th, that's when everything shut down last year. But this was going to be a vegan grilling class. And so this vegan chef is well known for creating alternate meat sources. And we've had a lot of interest in plant-based classes when we survey our community. So she was coming in to do that. This one was going to be more costly. She does charge for her services. So Christina here, like I said, with Olivewood is doing this through, or with Very Good is doing this through her foundation. Elise, that's here above, she works on a donation-based service. And then underneath, Liz, that was doing this vegan class, she expects to be paid. So that's how the pricing works for her. But again, a large following, great to share. Skipped one there. Another thing we do is we do sort of look for partnerships with people that have media coverage. That's something we want. We're trying to, like all of you, get more media coverage for the work we're doing. So I mentioned that we worked with the Olivewood Gardens, who have the Kitchenista program that was having the film done. And here on the right, that's our county supervisor. We did an event and she was invited to that. So finding different ways to get potential media exposure is a great idea. It's just not always simple. So if you, again, kind of just keep your ear open on Facebook about things that are going on, and reach out to some of those other food-based organizations and just ask if they're willing to come in and help you do cooking classes. That's what we do. I'm a little shameless about just asking. We provide some different opportunities for people to come in and do. So we're not asking everybody to do things for free or anything like that. We give a lot of autonomy to our instructors through, when they want to do a class for us. We have actually a form that we go through that I'll show you in a little bit to have them tell us how they prefer to get paid, donations or volunteer. One great starting point, if you're considering doing this and you don't really have a lot of connections yet, or you're not sure if it's worth your time or you have the volunteer capacity, is to engage your owners and find out what they're interested in. So here on the left, we have one of our owners that she's Russian, and she's got a lot of skills in the kitchen related to preparing different traditional Russian recipes. She loves sauerkraut and feels really proud of her sauerkraut skills. We have another owner who's the same, does pickles. They were both a little shy to do a class separately, so we did the kraut and pickle class, and they did that one together. So they organized it, they got everything they needed, and just use it as a way to help us promote the co-op. And we did charge for that class because there were supplies, jars, and these kinds of things. But the great thing about it was that because they were doing it, they were proud of it, they were marketing for us as well. So she was marketing to her friend group and some local spas and these kinds of things. The other owners marketing through her friend network. So again, it's just a great way to bring in some new people that may not otherwise know about your co-op. One thing we like to do is highlight local farms. Again, changing shopping habits is a goal. So at every class that we do, we point out different specialty store items. We purchase things locally when we can. We highlight those in the classes, highlight the farms. And so again, that farmers market brunch class that we did was based on a local farm curated box that people purchased. And the class itself was donation based. So people had to purchase the $20 produce box. Then we provided the class. So this was a virtual class. This was during beginning stages of COVID. But it allowed us really to point out how nice it would be if you were able to actually buy these items close to home. Right. So this box was really great. It had all kinds of cool stuff in it. And we were able to point out the problem. If this is really great, but if you actually wanted to purchase these on your own, you wouldn't be able to do it here. So the co-op can come in and do that. So we think that's a great strategy when it comes to cooking classes. Another really simple way to start too is wine and coffee events. So I realize these aren't cooking specific, but we did sort of do it. So the wine event, we have an owner that owns a wine specialty store. She had a friend that plays the ukulele during her wine education events. And so, everybody could participate in a wine tasting, learning event. And all they had to do was, we had an option that they could purchase wine. This was, again, in the beginning of COVID when we were distributing produce boxes. So one week, we had 3 wines that could be purchased and picked up during that distribution. So they just picked it up from us, and then we did a virtual wine event. On the right, this was an event that was supposed to be in person, also right when COVID started, and we had to transition to virtual, but our equal exchange representative in the area is just absolutely lovely, an amazing person to work with, and so supportive of our efforts. And so her specialty is in coffee. And so we talked about teaching people how to brew a perfect cup of coffee. So we had to, again, switch it to virtual, but this was intended to be in person. So one of our coffee talks where we meet in the morning at a local restaurant, order coffee for people, and we talk about the co-op. What we were going to do for this one was teach people how to actually brew it. Equal Exchange was able to offer the coffee for that, and so that was a free event. And again, we did it virtually, so it ended up being null, but we will actually revisit this and do it in person here soon because it's really a fun, easy class to do. I briefly mentioned the class that we did at a local church, but this is a really great partnership opportunity. So for us, we're really trying to do what we can to partner with local faith-based organizations. And the great thing about churches is, one, they know about outreach. And so they can really support the co-op there and provide great advice, but they also have great space for fellowship. So it makes for a great community room. So if you can see on this photo on the left, we've done a couple of classes there. We did a Mediterranean bowl class, you can see on the far right, but we also have done like a vegetarian plant-based cooking. This is a Seventh-day Adventist church, so they're a plant-based group, and we've done some of our other cooking classes there as well. And the great thing is that we don't have to cap the number of people that can participate. They have a huge space, and so we've never really run out. I think this class that's here had probably upwards of 40 to 50 people that were able to attend. So logistically, you got a lot of food you have to provide if you do that, but you can do demos versus like a full-on cooking class. We've done cooking classes at this church where people are actually preparing the foods, participating in the cutting and the preparation, and we've done them where it was a demonstration only. So if you're looking for a space, it's a really great option to pursue. And again, they have a budget for community events. And so for them, it's a really great partnership. We're promoting healthy eating. That's a foundation of their faith. They have space. They're looking to do outreach. We're looking to do outreach. So it's been wonderful. Another thing we do is highlighting different demographics and culture. So like, younger audience, they loved our, some of the like sauerkraut pickle classes and the charcuterie classes. Some of our, other community members, really wanted to learn more about traditional tortilla making and taco making. I mean, so really thinking about our community, different ways to reach different audiences, young kids through the, 20 something students that are military, some of our younger military families. And then again, through thinking through some of the diversity. We have a large Filipino population here too. So we've got some great owners that would like to do some classes with that. We're sort of stopped with COVID, but we're really excited to get back to doing that because there's a lot of people that really want to explore ways for making some of these foods at home or making them healthy for some traditional recipes that maybe otherwise are not. Don't be afraid of quick and easy classes either as you're starting. So we did, this is again during COVID when we're doing things online, we did a really quick and easy Facebook, Instagram Live class on popsicle and smoothie making. And so Elise came in and she prepared some different recipes that were, just fun to get people making popsicles. And if they didn't have popsicle molds, they could turn them into smoothies. And so that was really fun. It was quick. Kids could participate. We could market it really easily. So that was a fun event. Again, these type of events for us don't bring immediate ownership growth. We really look at them as fostering community relations and as one of sort of those, if you're looking at, 7 different interactions with people before they join, we feel like this is a really great way to do that. We've done a couple multi-week series. So I mentioned the 8-part series with local teams that we did with the chef. But we also just completed a 4-part Cooking for Salud teen program. And so Olivewood Gardens, that does the Kitchenista program, they have a Cooking for Salud teaching program that they do that they were looking to convert to teens. And so they were able to just start doing that before COVID. And really we're looking for opportunities to grow into further south down to where we are. And so this ended up being a win-win. We submitted for a grant for this one. So we got a grant to pay for us to offer this to our local high school students. And so we had 14 students that participated in this 4-part series. It was free. It was offered in English and Spanish, and it was taught by the Kitchenistas themselves. We modified their curriculum. It's typically an 8-week program. Because of our funding, we had to do it at 4 weeks. I think it was $5,000 is what we had. And then they received ingredients, all of these things. They picked them up week to week, and they went home, cooked them virtually together on Zoom. And then we just had our celebration with them. So these were a few of the graduates. We did a graduation ceremony for them, with the idea that, again, they're become healthy food advocates in the community, these teens. And so we look forward to actually expanding that program. This was a good pilot program. But again, another great way to connect with local families and provide health education service that we feel great about. And also we were able to sit with families and talk about joining the co-op and what that could mean to have a voice in our local food system. So this was an ownership growth opportunity for us as well. So I want to go back a little bit with a pre-recorded cook-along thing topic that I was telling you. So cooking classes with kids are so much fun. We have a great time doing them. But if you know kids, they're not very predictable. Their attention span's not fantastic. So doing a cooking class can be a little bit challenging. So pre-recording them is sort of a win-win sometimes if you're targeting a younger audience. And so what we did, I mentioned that we were getting those donated boxes of recipe ingredients, and we decided to pair it with a cook-along session. So what we do is we pre-record the cooking class itself, and then we stream it live to cook along on a Zoom webinar just like this. So on the left, this is Chef Liz, and this class had 3 different recipes. It was a strawberry lemonade, it was a garden salad and salad dressing, and it was a blue cornbread recipe. And so she did these lessons and taught the kids about knife skills and food. She did things as a vegan option and as a dairy-based option, which I have a story about that in a little bit, a lesson learned. But she pre-recorded this, and then I edited it together to make it more succinct. And her grandson here, Gary, he's a little guy, so he was a little wild. And so it was fine. We let him be a little wild, and then we just edited the video. The great thing about that for us too is that it does allow us to subtitle, have the subtitle option for people. So accessibility is much better. It's much more inclusive for us to do it that way. When we do the live stream, we do have somebody on there doing translation services. So we usually, for this one, we aired it 3 different times for one of the classes that's here. And as you can see the Zoom screen, aired it 3 different times. And we had over 50 kids that participated in a weekend to do this in classes. And it is just crazy. I mean, absolute insanity with little kids with knives cooking, and it's hilarious. But something that's really, really special is that, in doing it, I'm weaving in information about how the food was grown, the nutrition, just different things that really speak to the essence of what we're doing as our co-op. And so, one of the kids, I was talking about the butternut squash that they had, and I was talking about how it was grown and why kids had different sized butternut squash. So kids either had 2 smaller ones or 1 large one, and they were wondering about that. And so that was great to talk about when you grow things locally and you're getting them fresh from the farm. Everything's not always the same, right? And so one of the little girls was just screaming, Mom, this squash was grown on a real farm. Hello, you can't pay for marketing like that, right? connecting people to where their food comes from and how it's grown and why things are different sizes and what happens when you move away from commercial agriculture. I mean, there's a lot of just really cool stuff that happens. And so although kids are crazy and hilarious, it's just pure gold working with them. And so I just wanted to show at the bottom just sort of what it looked like for us for recording this video. This farm had a container kitchen outside that we were able to use for filming. We don't get fancy with it. I have a camera. I put it on a tripod. I edit it in iMovie later. And then I have people send me photos or we grab screenshots, these kinds of things while they're cooking. So it's a really fun way if you aren't able to do things in person to have that option. And with kids, in some ways, it's nice to have them be at home in their own kitchen, making their own mess, using their own knives with their mom's supervision, their dad's supervision, or grandparents. Just to wrap up some of this, as I'd encourage you to think outside of the box. We've been a little stymied here with being able to meet in person, but some ideas that we have simmering is we have an owner that owns a local grooming and dog bakery. And so making dog treats is something that's in the works. We have a couple of owners that have a soap making business that they would love to share with our community. So that's great. I had a woman this weekend that came up to us in an event, and she makes beeswax covers. And she thought that would be something to offer. We have a woman that owns a gluten-free bakery, and she's like, it's really complicated. You have to blend a lot of flours to actually make something taste good, gluten-free at home. And so there's ideas there. Cookie decorating classes. We have a person that runs a paella business. And so, there's a lot of different things. I think if you look within your ownership base, find some people that are doing things that would be willing to share with your ownership. And it provides a really fun, again, this is a fun marketing strategy, but you develop a framework as you do it a couple of times, and then it's really just a plug and play. So for the beeswax cover, she came to me and said, I want to do this. And I said, that's great. We need to find out how much it's going to cost and what kind of space and equipment we need. And then we can kind of move from there and finding how to get started, setting a price, getting a location, setting a number of people that can attend, right, around these different topics. So I want to speak in some more detail about that exact idea. Yeah, exactly. So Rachel was saying a big yes to local creatives and makers. And I think they're in your ownership, you've definitely got people doing really cool stuff. So if you're looking for chefs to do a cooking class, look to your local restaurants, like I said, but we also, where I found a lot of people is we have a restaurant Facebook group. So it's a San Diego restaurant Facebook group. So there's people in there that are buying and selling restaurant equipment or looking for chefs. They're just, where do I buy food packaging containers? I mean, it's just a chatty group that someone connected me to. And I posted it in there looking for chefs, and found tons of people that wanted to come and do classes for us. And so what I did is on our website, I actually created a form that people could fill out, and it would say, like, I'm interested in a class, and they would fill out information about their name, what their rate was, how do they want to be paid? So did they have a flat rate? Do they want to be paid in donations? Do they want to do this for free? Food, did they want to provide the food, source it themselves? Did they expect us to source it? Did they need help with prep work? Some questions just about how comfortable they were, how skilled they are. Because remember, if a person's teaching a class, they've got to be kind of fun. And, not all chefs have an interest in doing that. So you want to make sure that they're comfortable with being in front of an audience and being comfortable talking about the co-op and weaving that kind of information in. The same thing goes for plant-based groups that you might have in your area. There's often people in there that are chefs. Health organization dietitians. So we have a community clinic here that has a dietitian on staff, and he's interested in doing some classes for us. Any type of local food groups that you have, your farms, specialty stores. Again, I already talked about churches and owners, putting a call out on your mailing list or social media. But again, you do need to find out when you're finding those people about if they're expecting to be paid a certain amount or if they're okay with donations. And if they want to be paid a certain amount, then you have to really do the math and figure out how to charge people appropriately, unless you're going to take it out of your co-op budget. So for us, we operate on a very tight budget. So we usually keep these as, oh shoot, it's suncoastmarket.co. Sorry. You think I know? I'll type that about 8,000 times. You had to figure out exactly how you want to do it. We keep it so that we break even on these. We don't use them to fundraise, and we don't generally use money from our marketing budget. Occasionally we will, sometimes we'll also offer classes to people that otherwise couldn't afford it. They can let us know, but generally we break even when we do these events. All right. So in terms of finding a location, one of the most popular spaces that we use, that we love, is we have a kitchen and bath store here in town, and they have a full demo kitchen. It's a working kitchen on site, and so we use that for a number of classes. It's fantastic because it's a beautiful space. The downside is that it only really, we can get, if we push it, we can put 20 people in there pretty uncomfortably. But if they're, moving around and they're not, needing to sit and have space, 20 is okay, but it really operates best around like 14, 15 people. So it does limit the number of people that we can have at a time. But again, it's a great space for a cooking class because people can see really well. They can also participate. There's large counter space, there's tables, there's a lot of ways that you can actually do an interactive cooking class. Community rooms are another idea. This photo that I have here, this is just a clubhouse in a local subdivision area. And so you had to bring in a cooktop because we had to just set up a table. And this was for the plant-based Thanksgiving side dish class. So you had to bring in a cooktop, and she had to really think through how she could do this without being in an actual kitchen. But it worked out well. She's an experienced chef and was able to do that. And again, we could hold a number of people here. If I remember right, we had I don't remember, somewhere around 40-ish people that were there. But I think the capacity was maybe even up to 75. Outside, same thing. You could set up outside and do this during COVID. That's something we're looking at. Commercial kitchens. So as we've been doing more and more of these, we're starting to be offered some commercial kitchen space, as well as schools. So one of our local schools has a culinary program. So there is space there. Restaurants. We have a restaurant that it's not ideal for visibility reasons, so they'd have to set up in an area with a cooktop, but she still has access to her full kitchen and equipment there. So she would be able to hold a cooking class in the restaurant itself. And you saw that we use someone's home. So that is another option. If you have someone in your area, in your ownership, that has a large kitchen that you're willing to use. Just remember you have to think about the capacity itself with people and what they're going to be doing, what your expectation is for them to be interacting or moving or have space to eat. But really it's the demo visibility. So people will complain if they can't see well. So in this clubhouse situation, people would have a hard time seeing. So you have to allow them to get up and come up closer to look at different steps and think about that as you're planning the class in advance. When we figure out what to charge, I've talked a little bit about it, but I want to be specific. there's a few ways you can go about it based on really what your instructor requests are. So we have a donation-based option that we run a lot. So we can give a suggested donation on that. And then really whatever money comes in is what goes to the chef. Sometimes we will supplement that as a co-op if we don't get enough donations. So we sort of have a set minimum with the instructor or the chef on the minimum amount that they need in order to feel good about offering classes for us and cover their food costs or whatever costs they had. Then we have set fee options that I showed you where the chef figures it all out in advance. I usually put that back on a chef that wants to do it. If they're looking at it as a way to make more money, they need to come to me and tell me how much it's going to cost. So I need them to figure it all out. So we have a set amount going in, because what we don't want is what's happened one time where somebody way overspent on food, and we charged based on a certain assumption on the food costs, and they spent more, and we again are careful with our budget. We need to plan, have approval for certain costs. So working that out in advance is really important if you have a chef that wants to be paid a certain amount for that class. We do like to offer special owner rates. It's just one of the only ways that we can offer any perks to owners financially right now. So sometimes we'll give a slight discount or a bring a friend rate. So it's if they bring a friend, it's less, or they can bring a friend for free, however you want to do that. But however you can incentivize people to bring a friend and bring in that referral, I highly recommend. Usually when we do an in-person class with under 20 people, we can get 4 owners on the spot from that. And oftentimes maybe half of the class will be already owners. So sometimes we even get more. So it's a great way to bring in owners. We do look at financial assistance for people that want to attend. So sometimes we have people donate a class. So they purchase their own class, they can donate a class to somebody else. We do that with the boxes, purchase the box of produce, and you can offer to donate to someone else. For that, we've done grant funding, the local church funding, and then to keep costs low, another way is just offering tasters versus full meals. So teaching people how to make something, they don't have to take something home if you want to keep it really low cost. Those are a couple of suggestions. Let's see. Okay, so for finding new audiences, again, marketing, getting us to bring in new owners, we really want new people hearing about the co-op. So we do the pre-recorded cook-alongs. This is for the kids. So this is part of a marketing strategy when we've done pre-recorded, but also just in general, I think any type of video promos that you can do. If you have anybody willing to help do a basic one, they can go a long way. We get a lot of views when we do these promo videos. So I just want to show you just this quick 1-minute video here as we're wrapping up.
Great to me. Woo! I love that. I love the support. And okay. Get into it, like the teeth part, go deep, and then you can kind of go on. And be careful, it is hot. Just take a little bit. Perfect to taste.
You'll never know unless you try it. Of course. Yes.
Fabulous job, guys. Let's give each other a round of applause.
All right, so I wanted to just show that to you. That's one way, again, that we try to just market to a larger audience. We feel like we're doing something really fun and really cool. And people share those kind of videos. They get a lot of views inside different social media groups. So it is kind of fun if you can find a way to get video at your events. Whenever you do cooking classes, put together a cooking promo, even just in general, for the fact that you do them. These things get really shared. So just a couple of tips as you're doing it. I would recommend an online registration system, bring a friend perks, the owner, non-owner stuff that I talked about. Make sure you pre-prep your chef or instructor about the co-op so that they're talking about it throughout their presentation. And use and talk about items that you can find in the store. So I think that's important. Giving a quick but great pitch about your co-op. Incentivizing on the spot owner signups. So we usually offer some incentive for people to sign up before they leave. So it might be a reusable bag. It may be a reimbursement of their class. So the class was free if they signed up, but something to keep them from getting out the door is great. Make sure that your ownership system is fast to sign up. So by the end of a class, people are kind of done, especially if wine or anything's been served. People are getting a little loopy. They're full. So make it as quick as you can. So having volunteers ready to get people signed up before they walk out the door is key. And in your marketing, make sure you're highlighting the chefs, because again, they'll share that like crazy on their social media. And make sure you're following up and taking photos and following up. So key, follow up and photos, they're gold. We use Eventbrite for our sign up because it's free. You can charge or keep an event free on Eventbrite. It makes it easy to get exposure to a larger audience. So people get marketed for your event based on their preferences. So you use tags based on what kind of class it is. So cooking class, vegetarian, whatever it is, it will market to people for you. And you can link in your partners and chefs and organizations. It sends email reminders automatically. You can set that up. It offers a wait list option. So when it's sold out, you can have a wait list. So if people cancel, it automatically fills those in. You can print a guest list. So you have that right when you go. You've already got their email addresses. Just know if you're charging, you do have to charge that processing fee up front because you will pay for it. On the back end, but we just charge it. We add the processing fee to our class cost. And so we think that it works really well for us. We have an online registration and payment system through our website that we could use, but Eventbrite comes with some advantages just in general for marketing. On the event day, be prepared for some managed chaos. So have that guest list printed, confirm that everybody's paid. Make sure you've got all your co-op materials simple, ready to go, great signage for parking and getting in. People always come not late, but at the last second. So getting everybody in and settled. It's great to have volunteers that are waiting outside to bring people in the middle of class, so they're not interrupting your class. Prepping, you've got to have a crew that helps prep everything, unless your chef is going to do that, but you need to make sure that it's prepped and ready to go, and having those dishes and cameras ready. So I put on here, we always have a volunteer for check-in, an extra volunteer that also helps to get owners signed up. So a couple people at the end are walking around with clipboards, with applications, or with their phone to do owner sign up on our website. The chef needs an assistant, so one of you has to be helping the chef. Inevitably, they're going to forget something, and you're going to need to help them find it. And then cleanup crew. There's definitely quite a bit of cleanup at the end of it. All in all, it usually takes us, probably about 4 hours for a cooking class. Maybe the cooking class itself might be an hour and a half. So be set up, prepared, start really simple. Make sure that you've really pre-prepped the instructor. I'm just saying that double because it's so important, and having clear expectations with your instructor. So quick vegan chef story. We had the vegan chef doing an event for us. And she was going to do the cornbread as a vegan option, and my daughter was going to go ahead and do it as the dairy option that was written in the materials. When we got there, she decided to just go ahead and do both of them. We recorded the event. And then after about a 9-hour day of driving and recording and doing all this, she decided that she didn't want to be seen with dairy products. So that was a real pickle for us. Because again, it was in writing. She agreed to it. She changed her mind after things were done, but we also didn't want to create bad faith. So it just created a lot of work for me to try to work around that pre-recorded video we did to make it work. Really think about your after marketing when you do these. So again, there's people that are at your event that you're marketing to, but you're marketing to your larger audience as well. So people that attend are going to share on their own social media. So you want to encourage them to take pictures and tag you. But then also you want to share on social media how much fun you are and how great your classes are to get them. So I always am asking people to send me an email with a review, to write a review, to give to me to use on social media, to send me photos. And so like, this is a review we got that she said, my daughter enjoyed the whole cooking experience. Thank you. This will help with adding vegetables to our menu. And she enjoyed time in the kitchen with mom. Like, that's gold. That's great stuff to have. So think about that in advance, to just ask people, send me your pictures, tag us on social media. But really ultimately have a lot of fun. We love doing these classes. Our board really likes them. It just tends to be a lot of fun. And ultimately, anytime you have photos of happy faces holding food, that's like social media gold, website gold. You can't beat it. So this was our Mediterranean bowl class. I just sat at the end and asked anybody that was willing to have a photo taken if they'd let me. So I got just dozens of photos of people looking so cute with happy faces and food. So I want to open it up to questions for our last bit of time here. Eric, I think the recording is available after. I was told that they are. So yeah, check that out. I just put a little thank you. One of our events, like somebody came back to us later with a hand-drawn picture from their son as a thank you. And so these classes really are pretty exciting. So let's see, what kind of questions do you have? I don't know if there's a way for you to ask the question verbally or if you have to put it in the chat. You might know better than me. Brianne wants to know, do you have a YouTube channel or some other platform to check out examples? We do. So on YouTube, if you go to Suncoast Market, on YouTube, you'll find it. I have, put it in the chat here. A couple of our classes that we recently did. So we did those 2 food box kids classes. So those are up there. So you can see the full video to get a pretty good idea of what it looks like when we do them in person as well, even those are pre-recorded. So they are a little edited. One, I put in some B-roll from the farm. We're trying to do a lot more video education around our local farms. So you can see some of that we do. I am not a professional videographer or editor, but it is something that I'm definitely being forced to learn again. Okay. So, so the Instagram Live, it does okay. You have to, the question was, how do your Instagram Live posts do? Are they really popular? So there's a lot of marketing. So there's a couple of things. If you can get people to sort of register for it, so you can send a reminder. So whether you do it formally or you just have them, if you just do an Instagram poll of will you attend, and then send them individually a reminder about it, you can do it. But they do get viewed after the fact. So they are worth it. Even if you don't get a lot of people on live, the recording is still there, and it is good stuff. And same thing goes with Facebook. Facebook, you get a little bit more flexibility with being able to have people register. I wouldn't say that they're like, again, they're not great for getting owners on the spot. It is just another touch in the line of marketing that you're doing to get people live in person. Definitely you can get people to sign up on the spot, but the Instagram lives and Facebook lives are going to be more promotional. So that's where, if you're doing them, I would keep them as simple as you can. I do like it is sort of fun to pre-record and live and do a live webinar with people cooking live in their house. So that did work for our 4-part series, doing Zoom live sessions, live cook-along. We call them cook-alongs. They do tend to work out a little bit better. The kids version, the trick is that it's hard to talk about the co-op. So because, kids only care about this much. And so you're trying to talk and hope that mom and dad or grandparents are overhearing, but really you have to just follow up through email. So we just send email follow-ups afterwards. So we get that follow-up that way. Any other questions? If I missed one, let me know. I did put some polls in the poll area. And so some of the poll results, will be really interesting. I think might help if you could talk to, answer some of those polls I put in there about what kind of class would you like to have? What would you want to learn more about? If you've offered them, let people know. I think, any information like that we can share with each other is helpful. Usually we get people wanting to learn how to make, I get a lot of people wanting vegetarian cooking classes, even though people aren't plant-based eaters or not vegetarian or vegan. A lot of people are really interested in that, which was surprising to us. And when we have classes that are not plant-based, we find that some people get frustrated because they can't attend and they want to attend a cooking class. So that's kind of been a fun and interesting experience for us. Anything else? Are you inspired to do classes? Does this feel, I would like to know if it feels like something that is interesting to you, or does it feel overwhelming? And I will say, if it feels overwhelming, again, we've sort of got to a plug and play place for us where we find them to be really fun. We came out really hot when we did these with this more elaborate taco tortilla class, and we were working with people that they have a lot of ingredients. It was really amazing. She got her molcajete and she's making tortillas, and it was really great, but we were too new to really understand like how much time we needed, how many volunteers we would need to like help with the chef support. I think one of her assistants cut her finger. I mean, like just these little things sort of came up, and we thought, okay, we should probably just bring them down a little bit until we get a handle on what the needs are, and then start to like tick back up. Oh, good. So Brienne says we've done some short Facebook Live tutorials, and I think we'll do more of those for sure. Would love to do actual in-person classes. Yeah, I would highly recommend, if you have a space that you can do an in-person, even if it's, like I said, sometimes we're 14 people is all the capacity we have. They're really engaging, and to us, it's a fantastic way to talk about the co-op, even to owners. Again, changing shopping habits is a priority for us. We want people to not be satisfied with the sort of discount grocery sort of experience, although it has a place and we're not going to be competing with it. We want people to understand more about locally grown foods, the food system, their role in that food system. So in person, you can talk about it. When you're holding items that were grown locally and you can talk about irregular shapes, that that I think is really an important message for people to walk away with when you're talking about why there's cost differences between items at one store versus another store. You can do that in an in-person class because there is a lot of downtime while people are cutting up onions, while people are eating their food. There's a lot of time for conversation in there. So we like the in-person for that specific purpose. And I think if you're, as a co-op, we're all thinking about those things all the time. It's a part of our value system. And so it's great. You can highlight local farms. People do not have any idea about the farms in our area. And so being able to show people that is really pretty exciting. This last weekend for Mother's Day, we did a local flower bouquet making class. So 2 farms locally grow flowers, and we were able to source those and at an event table do that. We did a video. So we worked with a local florist. We filmed on a local farm, did a promo video, did a full video. You can see that on our YouTube channel. And so it's sort of plug and play now that we've got it down. We figured out how we can do these. We've done chocolate tasting events with Equal Exchange. So I think there's a lot of ways to do it really simple and scale up. All right, well, we're at time. So if there's any questions at this point, you can always message through our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our website. All of those things come through me anyway. I'm happy to help think through it if you've got a class. Happy to help you, figure out cost and those types of things. Again, I would encourage you just to, find something you love and just do it and be willing to learn from it. Because for us, this has been a really essential part of our ownership growth. So I hope I helped. I hope I gave you good information, and I hope that you take this and run with it. And I look forward to talking with you. Oh, good. Great. That's what I was hoping for. I wanted to inspire you to do something different. And I think your volunteers and your board members will appreciate something different too. Again, this is something that people really like all across the board. It's not the same table event stuff that's hard to get volunteers for, people get a little burnout on. It tends to just, I think, as a win-win all the way around for everybody. It's been great. Wonderful. So again, there's polls in the poll section if you've been using those. I don't know, you might even get points for the game if you do. And there will be a recording. So look forward to talking with everyone soon. Bye-bye. And Sally, what do I do from here?
I'll end the session. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.